Hello students, myself Amit Kumar Sharma and I am representing today's chapter, which is the first chapter of class 11. We have discussed about some of the fact in earlier classes, but on the basis of online classes we are starting this chapter from today. As you have opted science as your subject, you will have to study chemistry in that, and in chemistry we will get the introduction in today's class, and along with that we will discuss about some specific terms which we have studied earlier. So the first chapter of NCERT syllabus is some basic concept of chemistry. जैसा कि आप सब लोगों को पता है कि chemistry is one of the most important part of science. So first of all we should introduce from that term what is chemistry. Actually chemistry is a subject of, or it is a part of science which basically deals with the composition, structure and properties of a matter. When you want to get the structure, composition or want to get the properties of a matter, then you have to get into the chemistry for that. These aspects can be best described and understood in terms of basic constituents of matter, which are commonly known as atoms and molecules. Ultimately, what the subject includes, it includes a major scenario in which you will get every information about a matter in form of chemical reactions, in form of physical and chemical properties, etc. So we are starting the chapter. The chapter is starting with a topic called matter. Students, in ninth standard you have definitely gone through the term matter, and you know that matter is anything which is existing in the universe with a definite mass and the volume, means it is occupying a specific space. That is basically known as matter. These matter are further classified into two categories. The first will be based upon the physical and the second will be based upon the chemical. So physical and chemical both are the parts of it. When we are discussing about the physical classification of a matter, then basically we are having three terms. One is solid, second is liquid and the third is gas. We know that solid, liquid, gas are the basic states of matter. In today's time, two more are also included. One is plasma and the second is Bose-Einstein condensation. So we'll discuss about those new states of matter at the last of the chapter, because right now we are not having the importance of that in our chapter. The first physical classification is solid, the second is liquid and the third is gas. We know that solid is having different properties, like it has definite shape, definite size, definite volume. It is having very less compressibility, it has very high rigidity, it has no flow of matter. It means it is having maximum, it is having no flow, so that's why it is not included in fluid. The remaining two, which are liquid and gases, can flow, so these are included in as a fluid. Over here we are having definite volume in liquid, but the shape is not defined or definite because it takes the shape of the container in which we are putting that. The next one is gas, which is having no shape, no size, and even the volume is also not defined. We will study about the properties of solid, liquid, gas throughout the syllabus. The next part is chemical classification, or the classification based upon chemical scenario. It is including two terms. One is pure substance and the second is impure substance, or basically known as mixture. The pure substance, which is having fixed ratio of masses of constituents, जिन चीज़ों से वो मिलके बना होगा उनके constituent fix होंगे. So that is called pure substance. It is including basically elements and the compounds. Molecules, ions, compounds are also included over here. Elements, as we know that this is the combination of same type of atoms which can never be divisible or never be separated out by any of the physical or chemical separation method. Basically we will discuss about the definition and the properties of every of the part in brief. So first of all we are going through the general things. Consist of only one type of atoms, means element is just having one type of atoms, and these atoms can never be separated from each other by any physical or chemical separation method. The next one is compound. It is made up of two or more than two atoms of different elements. It means it is having some difference in atoms, but there is a definite formula for a compound because it is having a fixed ratio of mass of constituent. While when we discuss about the mixture, it is somehow equal to the compound in general things, but there is no definite formula of that. In recent years, examiner has asked about the difference between the compound and mixture, so we will go through that topic. Now we are coming to the next and the most important part of this chapter. This chapter is including a very important thing, mole concept. But before that, or to learn the mole concept, we have to go through the basic principles of chemistry. I think you know about a very famous scientist called Lavoisier. Actually, Lavoisier was the first scientist who proposed basic fundamental laws of chemistry. So that's why we call him the father of modern chemistry, or the father of basically chemistry. So father of chemistry is Lavoisier, and we are starting our chemistry syllabus or the information regarding to the chemistry with the same scientist law. The law which was proposed by the scientist is law of conservation of mass. We'll discuss about that. Before that, we are having law of chemical combination. What is the mean by law of chemical combination? As the term is indicating, chemical combination, we know in chemistry the chemicals combine to each other and form something new. एंड जितने भी एलिमेंट आपस में रिएक्ट कर कंपाउंड बना लेते हैं, ये कंपाउंड बनना केमिस्ट्री के 5 बेसिक रूल्स से एक्सप्लेन होता है या गवर्न होता है, और दीज आर द बेसिक लॉज विच आर नेवर गोइंग टू बी चेंज्ड. सो द फर्स्ट लॉ विच वाज प्रपोज्ड बाय द लेवोशियर is called law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass is very easy to understand, but it was very difficult to understand at a long time ago. So Lavoisier was famous for his concept. He offered the first law of chemistry, and that's why he is known as father of chemistry. In any physical and chemical reaction, what does the law of conservation state? In any physical or chemical reaction, mass before the reaction is equal to the mass after the reaction. Means mass neither be created nor be destroyed. It is clearly indicating that the mass can transformed into another state or another form, but it is never going to be lost or gained. Means before the reaction and after the reaction, the mass of the substance will be equal. In recent studies, there have been some arrangement in that, or conceptually some exceptions has been obtained. The exception is within the nuclear reaction, क्योंकि न्यूक्लियर रिएक्शंस में क्या होता है, वहाँ पर रेडिएशंस का एमिशन होता है, और रेडिएशंस के एमिशन के बाद में जो न्यूक्लियर रिएक्शन है वहाँ पर एनर्जी का फॉर्मेशन हो जाता है. इसीलिए वहाँ पर मास अप्रॉक्सीमेटली डिक्रीज होता है और वो मास एनर्जी की फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट हो चुका होता है. सो इफ वी आर इंक्लूडिंग द मास एंड एनर्जी, देन इट विल बी कंजर्व्ड. अदरवाइज मास जो होता है वो बेसिकली कम हो जाता है, क्योंकि रेडिएशंस का एमिशन एनर्जी की फॉर्म में हो चुका होता है. और ये मास और एनर्जी को आपस में कोरिलेट करने का कंसेप्ट फेमस साइंटिस्ट आइंस्टाइन ने प्रपोज किया था. ही कॉल्ड हिज बेसिक लॉ एज लॉ ऑफ रिलेटिविटी, in which mass can be transformed into energy and energy can be transformed into mass, and he offered the equation, a very famous equation, E is equal to mc square. The second law which is explaining the law of chemical combination is law of definite proportion. Law of definite proportion is a basic law which indicates that कोई भी कंपाउंड का फॉर्मेशन अगर एलिमेंट से करते हैं तो एग्जैक्टली सेम प्रोपोर्शन में ही वो एलिमेंट आपस में कंबाइन करेंगे. चलिए एक एग्जांपल से समझते हैं. जैसा एक बहुत फेमस एग्जांपल है डाइहाइड्रोजन ऑक्साइड, मींस वाटर के बारे में अगर हम बात करें तो H2O उसका फॉर्मूला है, और H2O में अगर आप देखें तो वहाँ पर हाइड्रोजन के 2 एलिमेंट काम आ रहे हैं, और ऑक्सीजन की अगर हम बात करें तो ऑक्सीजन का मॉलिक्यूलर वेट के हिसाब से अगर हम देखें तो हाइड्रोजन 2 और ऑक्सीजन 16. 16 इज द मॉलिक्यूलर वेट और एटॉमिक वेट ऑफ हाइड्रोजन. ऑक्सीजन का एटॉमिक नंबर 8 होता है, तो मॉलिक्यूलर एटॉमिक वेट जो है उसका वो 16 हो जाएगा. हाइड्रोजन का एटॉमिक वेट 1 होता है क्योंकि इसमें न्यूट्रॉन नहीं मिलता. सो दैट्स वाई अगर हम यहाँ पर समझें तो हाइड्रोजन इज गेटिंग 2 रेशो while ऑक्सीजन इज गेटिंग 16. सो इफ वी आर सिंप्लीफाइंग दैट, इट विल बी 1:8. अब चाहे आप किसी भी कंट्री में किसी भी जगह पर जाकर के वाटर के केस में अगर आप देखें तो वहाँ पर रेशो 1:8 ही मिलेगा। इसका मतलब ये हो गया सिंपल सा कि अगर हम किसी भी कंपाउंड का फॉर्मेशन करते हैं तो उसमें जो एलिमेंट्स कंबाइन करेंगे वो हमेशा सेम प्रोपोर्शन में ही कंबाइन करेंगे। अगर हम इसके एक्सेप्शन की तरफ जाएं तो एक्सेप्शंस आइसोटोप के केस में मिलते हैं। अब ये आइसोटोप क्या होता है? एक्चुअली व्हेन यू कम टू द टर्म आइसोटोप, iso means equal and top, which is indicating the atomic number, means if you are having the same atomic number and different mass number of same elements, then you will call them isotopes. So how we can define that? Isotopes are the different forms of the same element which contain same atomic number but different mass number. If you are looking the two example, we are having two type of carbon dioxide. The formula is ultimately CO2 in both the conditions, but in first condition we are using an isotope of carbon which is carbon 12. In second case we are using the isotope of carbon which is basically used to determine the age of fossils. It is carbon 14. So in first case when we are talking about the CO2, the atomic mass is 12, the oxygen is having 1 contains 16, so 2 contains 32. So the answer will be 3:8 over here. While if we are talking about the carbon dioxide made up by the carbon 14, we are having the atomic mass of that as 14, the oxygen is having same 32. Over here we are having the ratio 7:16. So in both the cases when we are having isotopic carbon, you will get different answers. So law of definite proportion cannot be explained for such cases. That's why we are getting a progress in such rules and including the exceptions in that. So till now we have discussed about the two laws. One is law of conservation of mass, which was proposed by Lavoisier, and the exception of that was nuclear reactions. The second is law of definite proportion, which is basically having the exception of isotopes. Other than that, it is quite equal for every situation. Come to the next slide. We are discussing about the third one. The third one is law of multiple proportion. The terms are giving us the answer, so you have to understand the terms first. This law or the basic law of chemistry was offered by the famous scientist called John Dalton. This Dalton is also known as father of atomic theory because he also proposed the atomic theory. The next chapter, which include the atomic structure, we will discuss about the Dalton and his contribution over there. So in this particular law, जब दो एलिमेंट कंबाइन होकर एक से ज़्यादा कंपाउंड बनाएंगे तब किसी भी एक एलिमेंट के वेट को अगर हम फिक्स कर दें तो दूसरे एलिमेंट का वेट सिंपल रेशो में आएगा. व्हाट डज इट मीन? व्हेन वी आर हैविंग टू एलिमेंट्स combining together and forming more than one compound, then if you are making the atomic weight of any element as fixed, then the second element will definitely come in a simple ratio. If you want to get the explanation of that, we are having an example in which we are having carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen as an element. In this particular example, we are having carbon and oxygen. Carbon and oxygen combined together can form carbon monoxide, which is having formula CO. The second is CO2, carbon dioxide. When we discuss about the carbon monoxide, then the atomic weight of carbon is 12 and for oxygen it is 16. So now if you are making the carbon fixed, in the second condition while we are discussing about carbon dioxide, we are having same 12 and 32. In both the conditions, if we are making carbon atomic weight fixed as 12, then the oxygen will be in simple ratio. In first condition, 12 carbon, which is having 16, which is having the inclusion of oxygen with 16, and in next one we are having 12:32. So अगर आप यहाँ पर कार्बन को फिक्स कर देते हैं तो आप देखें तो ऑक्सीजन 1:2 में है, और अगर आप इसको डबल कर लें, ऑक्सीजन को फिक्स कर लें, तो वहाँ पर कार्बन का रेशो 1:2 आ जाएगा. इन बोथ द कंडीशन वी आर गेटिंग दैट अगर हम एक एलिमेंट के वेट को फिक्स करेंगे तो बाकी एलिमेंट एक सिंपल प्रोपोर्शन में मिलेगा. जैसे आप नीचे देखें तो हाइड्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन का अगर हम देखें तो एक बार अगर हम हाइड्रोजन को फिक्स कर दें और एक बार अगर हम ऑक्सीजन को फिक्स करते हैं तो हमें अल्टीमेटली रेशो 1:2 मिलेगा. एक टेबल आपके सामने रिप्रेजेंट है जिसमें इस तरह के एग्जांपल्स को और समझाया गया है. सो आई थिंक लॉ ऑफ मल्टीपल प्रोपोर्शन आपको समझ में आ गया होगा. द law of multiple proportion, which was offered by Dalton, indicate that during the formation of several compounds with the same element, then if you are making the atomic weight fixed for an element, then the second will be in a simple proportion. Let's come to the next point. We are discussing about the next law, which is a very famous law known as gaseous law of gaseous volume. Actually, this scientist is going to be very famous in gaseous state because he was having a great contribution in that. Gaseous law of gaseous volume indicates that when gases combine or are produced in a chemical reaction, they do so in a simple ratio by volume, provided all the gases are at same temperature and same pressure. What does it mean? If you are having the combination of two or more than two gases, then in a chemical reaction, then they do so in a simple ratio by volume, provided all the gases are at the same temperature and pressure. They will combine in a definite ratio of volume. Over here we are having a very famous example of ammonia formation, nitrogen, which is a gas, the most abundant gas in atmosphere, hydrogen, react with hydrogen, which is the most abundant gas of universe, and form ammonia. In this particular reaction, if we are having 1 unit volume of nitrogen, it is reacting with 3 volume of hydrogen and forming 2 volume of ammonia. Now what does Galusik say? Galusik का law of gases volume एक्चुअली में लॉ ऑफ मल्टीपल प्रोपोर्शन का ही एक एग्जाम्पल है. जो बात डाल्टन ने 1803 में मास के लिए कही थी, वही बात एग्जैक्टली गैल्यूसिक ने 1808 में 1808 में वॉल्यूम के लिए कह दी थी. तो गैल्यूसिक के लॉ को प्रॉपर्ली एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए ग्रेट साइंटिस्ट एवोगैड्रो सामने आए. एक्चुअली गैल्यूसिक का जो लॉ था वो बेसिकली कॉपीड लॉ था विच वाज फ्रॉम डाल्टन्स और द लॉ ऑफ प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ मास, मल्टीपल प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ मास से. तो उसको एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए हमें एवोगैड्रो लॉ पढ़ना पड़ेगा और ये एवोगैड्रो लॉ आपको बहुत काम आने वाला है, तो इसको थोड़ा ध्यान से समझना है. एवोगैड्रो लॉ सेज सेम टेम्परेचर एंड प्रेशर पर इक्वल वॉल्यूम ऑफ गैसेस में इक्वल नंबर ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल्स होते हैं. व्हाट डज इट मीन? अगर आप 2 या 3 गैसेस के बारे में बात करें, उन गैसेस का टेम्परेचर और प्रेशर अगर आप सेम ले लें और वॉल्यूम भी अगर इक्वल हो, तो उन गैसेस में नंबर ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल्स इक्वल ही होंगे. एवोगैड्रो ने एटॉम और मॉलिक्यूल को डिस्टिंक्ट कर दिया, जो कि अभी आसानी से समझा जा सकता है. वो मॉलिक्यूल्स के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. 3 आइडेंटिकल कंटेनर्स मींस इक्वल वॉल्यूम हैविंग कंटेनर्स एट सेम टेम्परेचर एंड प्रेशर. अगर हम देखें तो हीलियम, नाइट्रोजन और ओजोन, ए बी सी से जिनको इंडिकेट किया गया है, उनमें मॉलिक्यूल्स का नंबर 1 1 1 है, जबकि एटॉम्स का नंबर 1 2 एंड 3 है. अगर हम इसको सिंप्लीफाई करें तो एक डेफिनेट वॉल्यूम पर सेम टेम्परेचर और प्रेशर की कंडीशन में नंबर ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल्स गैसेस के लिए इक्वल होते हैं. दिस इज कॉल्ड एवोगैड्रो लॉ. वी आर हैविंग वन मोर लॉ विच वाज ऑफर्ड बाय रिटर. दिस इज लॉ ऑफ रेसिप्रोकल. बहुत सिंपल लैंग्वेज में इसको अगर हमें समझना हो तो हम ये कहेंगे कि टोटल एलिमेंट्स अगर 3 हैं तो टोटल कंपाउंड्स भी 3 होंगे, और ईच एलिमेंट 2 बार आ रहा है, मींस लॉ ऑफ रेसिप्रोकल का क्वेश्चन यही है. मेनली अगर हम एक्सप्लेन करना चाहें तो कार्बन, हाइड्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन को अगर हम मिलाएं तो कार्बन, हाइड्रोजन, ऑक्सीजन से 3 एग्जाम्पल्स बन सकते हैं. एक CH4, एक CO2 और एक यहाँ पर हम देखें तो H2O. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ये कोई इंपॉर्टेंट ज़्यादा रूल नहीं रहेगा, एग्जाम्स में इससे संबंधित नहीं पूछा जाएगा, बट एक लॉजिकल एप्टीट्यूड अगर आपको देखना हो तो यहाँ पर आप देखें तो सल्फर, हाइड्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन को अगर हम देखें तो उन तीनों के मिलने से 3 तरह के कंपाउंड्स फॉर्म हो सकते हैं. तो जितने एलिमेंट्स होंगे उतने ही कंपाउंड फॉर्म कर सकते हैं. आई होप आपको ये कंसेप्ट समझ में आ गया होगा. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट जो कंसेप्ट है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, हम उसे नेक्स्ट क्लास में कवर करेंगे. थैंक यू वेरी मच.